Hey, we're back with another episode of Wallet Watch. So, do you want to know the secret to get rich quick? On today's episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing the top 2 YouTube real estate experts in Dallas that have made over $3 million in the past 24 months. Stick around, you can't miss this one. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wallet Watch. I am your host, Brian McCauley. For those that are joining us, you know Wallet Watch is a podcast platform we put together. It's all about keeping your eyes on your money. We cover everything from mortgages, financial components, and real estate. And speaking of real estate, I've got a special one for you today. We've got a 2-for-1 banger. We've got the YouTube Real Estate Kings of Dallas, Texas, and I want to welcome my guests to the show, Levi and Travis. It is a pleasure to have you guys on, man. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for having us.
That's it, man. We're happy to be here.
Of course. So, you guys are one of the most interesting success stories that I've come across in my entire career of 18 years. You guys went from the bottom to the top really quickly. So for those that don't know anything about you guys, don't know anything about your YouTube success story, share with everybody a little bit about you and about the journey so they can understand a little bit more about that.
All right. Well, I'll kick it off then. It was funny as far as, I don't know how far you want to go back, but started in sales, got out of the military, and met a guy named Michael Reese, recruited me to sell gym memberships at Valley Total Fitness back in the day, early 2000s. And that's where I got my sales experience from starting out. And then he actually took me to my first Brian Tracy event back then. And that was my first exposure to self-development and self-improvement. And I remember I had a $300 credit card and maxed it out. I bought every program I could at that time, where you'd buy the 6 CD set. It was like a book, and it had 3 CDs on this side and 3 CDs on this side. And I think I bought it like 6 programs: the psychology of selling, psychology of mindset, all these different things. And at that time, I had this Volkswagen Jetta, and lucky for me, it had a 6-disc changer that was in the trunk, so you'd open up the trunk and I could put all 6 CDs in there. And so that's what just got me started on that journey there. And then I just progressed in sales over the years. But, really what it came down to was 2020 shut down my current business, my financial services business. And whenever the pandemic hit, I worked with all the teachers at Dallas ISD on their retirement planning. And so when the school shut down, my business shut down. And so I was left over the summer of 2020 at 41 years old asking myself, how do I start over without starting over? And if I'm going to transition, how do I transition and where do I go? Like, what do I actually do? And the funny thing is Michael has been trying to recruit me in real estate since 2002. So for almost 20 years, he's been trying to get me in real estate, and I never wanted to be a real estate agent. And I just, but as 2020 progressed over that summer, I watched real estate grow more and more. I thought, well, if I'm actually going to make the transition, this would be the time to do it. But I was really scared to death, because once you've tasted success, it's very hard to start all over again.
Right.
And especially in the middle of a time when everything was unsure, nobody knew what was going to happen. We didn't know how the world was going to reopen, what was going to happen. There was just so much unsurety left, and for myself. And I was just like, well, if I get into this, one thing Michael always said was, it's not the best real estate agent that wins, it's the best marketer. And so that's what kind of resonated with me, to where instead of getting into real estate and trying to figure it out, I wanted to try to figure out a plan and then get into real estate. And I thought, if I could figure out a plan and a way to attract business versus chase it, then I could see a way that I could get started. And if I could make 1 or 2 6 figures in the first year, I thought that would be successful. But I wasn't expecting what happened to happen. But I'll kind of kick it over to my man Travis and let him go from there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, the same thing. I've been in sales since I got out of the military in 2010, and I have a lot of experience in sales. And 4 years ago, me and Levi both have like really similar stories where we lost our businesses just a short few years ago. And my background was all in marketing and advertising. I've worked with some of the top internet marketers in the world, and so I had a really good idea of what to do, and then I also had a really good idea of what not to do and what I definitely didn't want to do. And it was really crazy, because me and Levi, we actually met each other over at Michael Reese's house, because he's a buddy of mine as well. And I was actually over there at the time I still had my marketing business. I was about to shut it down. I had a really bad business partner that was just not doing what he was supposed to be doing. I was about to shut it down. So I was working on this software with them, and I was transitioning over, and I knew that I was going to be getting into real estate. And Levi walked in, and, he didn't really say much, like he never really does, until you get to know him. He's just like real quiet. I'm like, does this guy hate me or does he love me? Like, I really can't tell like what's going on over here. So, we didn't really talk too much. And then, I got licensed, and, I launched my Facebook ads, and I started getting all these leads, and I was like cold calling and all this other stuff. And I would like learn really quickly. I was like, no, this is definitely not the way. I do not want to do this. I mean, I could get leads for $2 or $3 a piece, but I was getting so many of those leads so quickly, like we couldn't keep up. I couldn't call them all. And so I saw Levi do launched his channel right in December of 2020. So almost coming up on 2 years. And I was like, man, I think YouTube's definitely going to be the way. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, like, I think he had like 30 or 50 subscribers or something like that at the time. And I was like, dude, I love what you're doing, man. Like, would you like kind of guide me in the right direction? I'm thinking about, doing YouTube over in Fort Worth. And, so we kind of started, kind of like work dating for a little while. And he would show me a little bit about what he's doing and how he's doing it. He would come out and help me film. I would go down and do things that were on the Fort Worth side. And he would, it was really funny because in the very first video I ever did, it was, he'd already had some good experience. He had it down really good. And I was like, I don't need to practice. I got this shit, man. No worries.
He just tried to wing it.
Just trying to wing it.
Big waste of my time.
How was that time worked out for you?
Yeah. So
it worked out well. And so
I completed the video.
He edited your part out.
His
first video, I ended up doing it. And he was there just like,
yeah. It worked out. And so, Dallas, it was cool because I feel like everything was just kind of meant to be, man. I mean, he was going to go out of town in March of 2021, and he decided not to go out of town, but he had Airbnb'd his house. I was like, hey, man, why don't you just come stay with me for a few weeks? You know what I'm saying? I was like, I got a couple of kids, and they're really, they're awesome, but they're also a lot of work. I was like, as long as you can deal with that, come crash over my place. So,
yeah, this wasn't a weekend. I actually had a month.
Like 3 weeks,
I had a month trip planned.
It's like a reality show. Yeah, it's wife swap, but it's come hang with me.
Well, I was going to leave for a month. And so I rented I Airbnb my house, which, that's a vacation hack, right? It paid for my whole trip because 2 people booked the house for 2 weeks each. Mm-hmm. And so whenever I decided that it was not the right time for me to go, especially because the channel was really just kind of starting to pop off at that time.
Yeah.
Then that's when I was kind of like, well, I made the decision not to go, but then I didn't have anywhere to stay. I was homeless for a month, and I was thinking, well, I could go rent my own Airbnb or do something. I mean, I was going to try to figure it out, and that's when Travis was like, why don't you come stay at my house?
Yeah.
I got a great couch up in the theater room. You can sleep on it. I thought he had at least a bed or something. I didn't realize his couch.
You weren't going to fit in that crib, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That other room. And so it just worked out. We just kind of started to work together, and things started happening, and leads were coming in, and I was just moving them really quickly. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the start of it. We, like I said, we started work dating for a little while. Before we got hitched, and now we're business partners on so many different projects and so many different companies that we have, and everything has just kind of been smooth sailing. For the most part ever since then, and we're just trying to learn and trying to grow.
Yeah, man, you guys are doing an incredible job. So the universe brings you guys together. You partner up and figure out, hey, we're a good fit for each other. So kind of talk through the YouTube journey, because I'm sure realtors and even lenders like myself and people on this like, hey, you come up with that idea, but you have to execute it, and you have to do trial and error, and you have to be patient. And you have to figure out what works. So you get things rolling. You guys meet each other. You partner up, and you get it all going. So the first couple of months, how's the journey? What'd you decide to do? Do you have any fallout? Did it work quickly? When's your first deal go viral? Kind of walk everybody through that on how long it took and when you realized you were onto something.
Yeah, well, I think the important thing is like you mentioned, is over the summer when I finally decided to go all in on YouTube. What happened was once I made the decision, okay, if I'm going to make the move into real estate again, I wanted to try to figure out how to develop a plan first. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, how am I going to compete in Dallas with, brokers and agents that have been in the business for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years?
Right.
And is there a gap in the market? Is there an actual gap, or has everything already been done? Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to attract business, how can I do that in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of money as well? So those are the questions that I had to ask myself first. And of course, I realized, well, social media is probably the best way to do that. But which platform? Because the thing is that also I understood that everyone always says when you start, you got to be on every social platform. And I think that's a huge mistake because you end up putting 20% effort across 5 different platforms. And nobody really understands a platform before they dive into it. Most people dabble on all the platforms. They spread themselves thin. And what happens is one maybe starts to take off. And so then they avert all their effort there, but then they don't even really dig into it. So I knew I wanted to do it through social media. I knew I wanted to do it through one platform, but which platform? And everybody was saying Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, especially TikTok in 2020, because every agent was waking up with 10,000 followers. And they were like, you got to be on TikTok.
Right.
But whenever I really dug into it, I didn't see people turning over a massive amount of business or anything else. And plus, they were supplementing their current business. Most of these people are already successful in real estate. And so, and none of those platforms really fit my personality. I didn't really see myself fitting in on those platforms. And so it's funny as I stumbled upon YouTube, it was the last choice. But then I realized YouTube's a search engine, not a social media platform. Wow. And so I think where I didn't fit in with the other platforms is what I saw was a bunch of experienced agents telling their stories, their experiences, educating people on the buying and selling process, which I had zero experience in doing. But as I dug in more of YouTube and realized it's a search engine, and I found out, well, people are actually, and you can actually look what people are searching for, and people are searching about Dallas, and they're searching about Dallas suburbs and neighborhoods and things to do and places to eat. And that was a light bulb moment to say, well, I don't know anything about a real estate transaction, but I know everything about Dallas because I've been here for 20 years.
Right.
And if I can educate people on Dallas, what happens is you end up capturing them in the research phase before they've ever decided to hire a real estate agent or a mortgage lender. You know, because you think about it, you got to think about your client. You got to get in their mindset, in their shoes. And whenever it's time to make a move, do they say, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go see if we can find the best dancing real estate agent on TikTok.
Right.
No. Do they say, hey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on Facebook and see what's on the market. No, they say, hey, it's time to go. I think we're going to move to Dallas because this state is going crazy or lockdowns or taxes or my corporation is uprooting to Texas. Sure. What's it like to live in Dallas? So they start researching the city and the neighborhood and the areas and the schools first. That's what they're thinking about, them and their family and what's going to be a good fit for them, not, oh, let's go on to Instagram and see if we can find the best agent posting really cool market reports.
Right.
You know, they're not in that mindset. And so every agent or most agents typically, interrupt marketing. They do interruption marketing. And so, and they're thinking about themselves. How do I sell myself first versus how do I provide value to the client? So that was the big thing to move into to YouTube. And then once I decided on YouTube and I saw a path, if you treat YouTube like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. And I think the other mistake people make is they don't dig into the platform and understand it from a producer side versus a consumer side. So when you understand it from a producer side, then you understand the back end, the analytics, the data, how it works, what are the functions, what matters, what doesn't matter. And so I just took time to study that over about 60 days. And that's why I like to say you can hyper learn any subject in 60 days. And if you want to be the best TikToker, if you want to be the best YouTuber, or you want to be the best postcard marketer on the planet, sit down and study it for the next 60 days. Read books, vlogs, blogs, YouTube, whatever you can do. Get on Clubhouse, listen to people talk about it. If you want to be the best postcard marketer, the information is out there, right? But you have to sit down and actually develop a plan. And so, just building out a business plan before launching on a social media platform or actually a search engine platform, I think was really critical. And so I didn't guess at like what I was going to do over the next 6 months. I already had it written down. I already knew based on search and what I could find, what videos to shoot, what I was going to do, what I was going to publish. I looked at the other agents in the market. So all of that was planned out before I even started. So I never second guessed what I was doing. I only second guessed, was it going to work? Yeah. So that was it. And then, meeting Travis at that time, I knew from the beginning I wanted a partner. And like Travis, I had actually just gotten out of a bad partnership as well in that previous business. It wasn't just COVID. It was a lot of issues with that partner. So I was a little reluctant on that side. But at the same time, I knew I wanted a partner because I didn't want to be the transactional real estate agent either and have to try to do everything myself. I'd been in sales for the last 20 years, and this time I wanted to kind of focus on marketing. And what's funny is Travis had been in marketing, and he wanted to focus on sales.
Yeah,
Great. So that was a kind of a perfect marriage there.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's, I mean, that, for people that are watching this, obviously, I mean, what you did is you studied the platform. I think it's a great point. Like people just get on social and they just jump on. So you studied the platform, figured out what works, put together a formula, then took that into the production piece and was like, okay, great. I know what's hitting. I know what's working now. I don't have to guess it, right? Because I think some people that don't study it or know it, they put stuff out there. They're not exactly sure how it works. They quit pretty quick. And so you made sure that you had the recipe before you did it. So you get that, you start launching videos, you guys are out there. So do leads come in quick? Do contracts come in quick? Is it a test phase? What does that, second phase look like? If I know how it works, I've got the formula, time to shoot the videos and dump it out there. What does that look like for you? And how long did it take before, it picked up momentum and got you guys to where you felt like, okay, I know it's going to work now because I have the evidence?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I knew it was going to work because, I mean, like I said, I've been in sales for so long. Like when I was in the car business, that was the first sales job I'd ever had. I mean, people were literally trying to fist fight me for like a $200 mini. Like they would literally try to fight you for a car deal. And so like that was like really hard sales. And then I would have to work the service drive. I would have to make 200, 300 cold calls a day. I mean, it was really, really hard sales until you kind of built up, your database, right? Then I went and worked for some top internet marketers, right? And I was helping sell their courses and all this. And it was like 200, 300 cold calls a day. Really, really hard work. Facebook, everything was just such hard work to make sales. And when I knew this was like the real deal was like one of the very first, the leads started coming in, right? Okay, cool. This is definitely working. These conversations are fire. They're like hopping on Zoom calls with this dude and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. He had like 100 subscribers at the time or whatever, but it was like, the way that YouTube portrays you to other people doesn't matter if you have 30 subscribers or 30,000 subscribers. People get to know you and love you and really, truly trust you. And the conversation was completely different. Everything that I'm used to was mainly outbound. This was completely different. It was all inbound. People were calling us. They were reaching out to us, texting us, emailing us, wanting to hop on Zoom calls. And it was just a completely different ballgame when these leads start coming in. I'm like, okay, this is definitely the real deal. And it's like, hey man, you keep pumping this out. I'll close 100 transactions. Like you just keep doing the videos and I'll handle all the real estate business and all that stuff. Right. And so I think one of the very first deals I closed was in less than 24 hours. This family had flown in from California, and their agent this is like things were like starting to really pick up. So things were like you were starting to have to move really quick at this time, and they came into town and they found us on YouTube like in the night before. I think it was like 11:30 at night, and they said that their agent hadn't been responding or wasn't giving them the attention that they need. And the very next morning, I met them at 11 o'clock at a new construction and closed the deal. Right. Like I'm talking like less than 12 hours or so. This deal was like completely closed. Okay, boom. Then the next one was like that, and then the next one was like that, and then every single one of these deals. I mean, it was just like crazy. I think like last April was our first time we closed any transactions. I think we closed 2 transactions last April. And then every single month from there on was double or triple. Like it went from like 2 to like 4 to like 8 to 13 to 15 to 16. And then we've had 30 months where we've done 35 transactions from YouTube, right? And like it was just, our average conversion cycle is 43 days. I think it's 47 now, right? And that's because these people will watch us for so long on YouTube. When they reach out, they're ready. They're reaching out to us on their time frame when they're ready. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to have been like, Travis, like I love you guys. Like I've seen you and Levi for the last 6 months. And I said, from the moment I saw that first video, that I was going to reach out to you whenever it was the right time. So people I knew that it was the real deal, like off those first couple transactions, and then it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. I mean, I think YouTube's by far the best marketing platform. I mean, I know it's not technically like Instagram or anything like that. But I think it's the best platform on the planet to be able to generate business from.
Yeah, so you guys pick up momentum, you get rolling, you're like, this is for real, right? It's not a one-time thing. You continue to do it. So you're, to Levi's point, you guys are sharing neighborhoods and things in Dallas, and then you're getting the attraction piece. One, because people are getting to know you via the videos, so they kind of feel your tonality and your personality, and the fact that you guys are professionals, sharp, and know what you're doing, it builds that trust. But, mind everybody that's watching, they came up with this during the COVID era as well. So realtors or lenders by nature, a lot of their old school tactics where they're knocking on doors and shaking hands and doing all that, they didn't have the ability to do all that. So the next best thing is, hey, how do I get somebody on video?
Yeah.
How do I build the trust? And obviously things go viral and things start to pick up and, you guys say, okay, we're onto something. So it gets to a point to where you guys are going, subscribers are adding up. You guys are getting clients, getting under contract, everything else is good. So when did you get to the point where you're like, not only is this real, we want to continue it, but we want to keep pouring gas on the fire, but now we have to build the team. Now we have to build a brand. When did you get to that phase to where you have pretty much like every realtor's wet dream, which is like, we have too much good organic business calling us right now. It's what everyone wants is like, I want to be so popular and hit a lick so well that I literally can't handle it until you can't handle it. And then once you can't handle it, it's like, hey, how do we replicate and clone? And so when did you get into that spot to where like, not only was it the thing that we're going to continue to do and scale up, but we've got to get some additional help?
Yeah, I would say that was probably around October of last year when we kind of started really talking about it, because I think that month I closed like 13 transactions or something crazy. It was like it was a high amount of transaction. I was like, dude, like we're going to be in trouble here, if we don't start growing a team here locally. And Levi was a little hesitant about it at first, and now I think everything has worked out really well. I mean, he was 100% on board, and it worked out extremely well. And then by November, we started to reach out to people, and like for me, it was like really easy to grow the actual team, because when I was like calling the listing agents, because like last year, I mean, there was 30, 40, 50 offers. I'd call every single listing agent, and I would basically negotiate the deal on the phone with the listing agent, get a verbal agreement, take that over to my buyer and be like, hey, look, they're going to take this deal. If we do this right now, the buyer would be like, okay, cool, let's just do the deal. Right. They needed the house, rates were good, everything was, it was just crazy how fast things were moving. But I would like talk to listing agents and let them know what we're doing, and like, oh my God, you're doing that on YouTube? Let me see your YouTube channel. So I started talking to listing agents, and I was like, hey, we're looking to grow our team. We have plenty of YouTube leads just like this. Right. And so, I started having listing agents joining the team and more listings agents joining the team. And then, it just kind of just grew from there. But last November, I mean, we really started making a big push. And, this year we've learned a lot. We've had, upwards of 17, 18 agents on the team, and we've let some of them, go, sure. because personalities just weren't necessarily there. But, I mean, we're still pretty new into the business. And so we have learned a lot this year. I've certainly learned a lot as a leader and as a mentor to people on the team. But yeah, I mean, that was really when we started pushing to grow a team, because I mean, there would have been no way that I could have handled that amount of business, especially when January, February, March, April came around earlier this year. There would have been no way we could have potentially burned out on our brand.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think every championship team in the making, man, has to prune. You go through people, you figure it out. It's just part of the process. So for people that are watching, obviously, they're picking up on the story. They know you guys know what you're doing and getting it done. For the numbers people, let's throw some numbers out there. So, talk about 21, 22. How many units, volume, GCI, things like that? Because people are watching saying, man, this is great. I'm going to follow these guys. This is good. I want them to be my partners and, agent stuff here and there. But is this one deal? Is this 100 deals? What does that look like for 21 and 22? So people have some measurements on, wow, not only is the video great and you got a couple contracts, but what are we closing and funding?
Oh, great. So first year, hold on, I'll just reach over and grab this real quick. So first year, that was 33.5 million, 64 transactions, right at 1,007,000 in GCI. Wow. So what's funny is that, Michael Reese, he came in to chase this guy named Jay Kinder. Well, it took Jay Kinder got into real estate, I think around 2000, year 2000. And it took him 5 years to make $1 million in GCI, in a 1 year period, right. So it took him 5 years, and then that fifth year. And so Michael came in, he was that type of person to say, well, I want to do it in less time. And he did it in 3 years. And again, that was really one of my biggest fears of getting into real estate, because I knew how successful Jay and Michael were. And I also was, being 41, that's a scary time to start over. Sure. And so I was thinking also, the last thing I want to do is just really start at the bottom and scrape from the barrel and start, shaking hands and kissing babies. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just at a different point in my life where I didn't really want to do that. The Boiler Room, that movie, I love that movie in the year 2000, but I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah. So it was funny that over the course of the first year, we didn't sell we didn't close a transaction in the first quarter. So the channel launched December 5th of 2020. We didn't close a home in January, February, or March. Like Travis said, we closed the first 2 transactions in April of 2021. And so over the last 9 months, we ended up closing 64 transactions, 33.5 million, and $1.7 million. And the thing is once you start reaching that point, you start getting closer and closer to $1 million. Like I was really thinking if we did 200,000 or 300,000 in GCI,
me too.
That would have been awesome. But when we passed that like so quickly, then it was like, well, let's get to 5, now 6, now 7. And then we're like, we're going to hit $1 million. Yeah. And I remember in December of last year, the funny thing was that we got to, it was like $1 million. No, it was like 900,000, 990. Yeah. 990,000.
It was right under.
Almost $1 million.
Yeah, it was right under.
It was like 17,000 under, okay? Or no, 10,000 under is what it was. 10,000 under. And literally, and it was like the 25th, or no, the 15th or something of December, 15th. So pretty much you knew at this point, you're not going to probably get it, right? So we're kind of like, well, that's a bummer, but 990,000, that's not bad for our first full year. And then all of a sudden, Travis locks in this cash deal, deal with a $17K commission that's going to close 10 days later. It closed what, December 28th or 30th?
I think it was the 30th.
It literally closed December 30th, and that pushed us to $1,007,000. So I was very happy to say we broke $1 million in commissions in our first year, and that's not even closing a deal in the first 3 months. Now, this year so far, what I was going to look up real quick, because I know Emily just sent this to us. 180. Here's the funny thing right now is we're at 180 closed transactions, and it's GCI closed as 92, almost 93 million. I mean, not GCI, but volume. 93 million. Yeah, 93 million. Pending right now, we're at 7.7 pending. So literally, we're at 99.9 million.
Version 2.0 again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Year.
Yeah. Right under that, we're 100,000 in volume. So, we just need one more deal.
David just got one under contract today.
That's right.
There it is. There it is.
We just broke 100.
That's it. All you got to do is manifest it, and it's out
there.
So
we're gonna. So it looks like we'll close 100, right at 100 million, which was funny. At the beginning of the year, our goal this year was 105 million.
Yeah.
Now, after January and February,
Sure.
in March we blew up. We were like, well, let's go to 200 million.
Yeah.
And so we've actually. That's how confident we were to say, hey, because we were pacing that. Actually,
if
we
it
were
stayed
pacing that.
yeah.
If we would have stayed on pace for the first quarter, of course, different market, we would have done that. But our original goal was 105 million this year, and it looks like we will close right at 100 million.
That's incredible, man. 12 and 24 months, you guys are doing, $1 million GCI plus 100 million, even in a market that's corrected so bad and it's pushed out 50% of the people and volumes dropping left and right. You guys are still going to crack 100 million. It's just incredible, man. So, talk a little bit about the YouTube thing. When you talk about people that are scared about shooting video. Like, I'm scared on YouTube. I don't know what to shoot. It takes me too much time. I think one of the things that you taught me in the past, and just shout out to them, they encouraged me to do my YouTube channel, which obviously I'm working on getting it going, but there's a lot of discovery there. And you talk about, shooting videos makes you time. It doesn't cost you time and things here and there. Kind of unpack that with people, what it does to the business, that people think, man, I'm just working all the time. I don't have time to do this and edit and shoot here and there. Give them a little expert high-level feedback on the mindset they should have around that.
Well, if you don't have time to make video, that's exactly why you should make video.
Yep.
Because clearly your time is not leveraged properly. And if those that love the idea of the 4-hour work week, video is the true 4-hour work week.
Nice.
And I don't even spend 4 hours a week on video. It may be more like 2 in totality, and really probably not even that much. If I do a neighborhood tour, maybe I do 2 hours worth of video shoot. But otherwise, you think about it now, I can record a 15-minute video in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I just need to have my bullet points, and that's it. It's one take. It's super easy because the proficiency level. Think about anything you've ever done. When you start out, it takes more time, but you're learning a skill. And with proficiency, with practice, it gets better, and you condense that time. But for those people that say they don't have time, yes, that's exactly why you should do video, because video, as you just mentioned, doesn't make you time, but compounds your time. So anytime you invest in something, stocks, real estate, crypto, your number one question is usually, what's going to be the return of my investment?
Correct.
So you should be saying that with whatever you invest your time in, especially if time is the most valuable asset, as they say. You should be saying, if I'm about to do this project, what's the return of my time? That's very difficult to measure with hardly anything. But with YouTube analytics, we can tell, like one video, one video took us 30 minutes to make. It's been watched over 10,000 hours, in a year. So if you think about that, well, that's a profit of 9,995 hours based off of a 30-minute investment, number one. But the amount of business that has brought us on top of that, I mean, that's the thing. You can directly measure the return of time. And I say the channel has been watched over, just through July, over 130,400 watch hours. You divide that by 24 hours in a day, that's equivalent to 14.88 years. Yeah. So that means in a year and a half, we turned a year and a half of our time into 1.5 decades worth of prospecting.
Sure.
So look, calling works. I get it. And I know people that have built big businesses off that. I know you still call.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it this way, that you can only talk to one person at one time. And as soon as you hang up that phone, your lead generation stops.
Right.
Dead in its tracks. That phone is not calling for you, but I can make one video in the same amount of time. Someone may have one phone conversation and that video goes to work with me, not just minute for minute, but in multiples, because now you can watch it, he can watch it, they can watch it. 1,000 people can watch it at one time, and I can reach 1,000 people in 1 minute versus making one phone call.
Yeah, and you guys may be believers on that, man. I mean, what you guys can't see on the other side of this camera is I've got a YouTube studio on the other side, and when Levi and them taught me about YouTube, saying that it compounds time and the messaging and it lives forever stuff here, and these things are true. I think people have to get over the fear of how does it look and how does it sound. It's just it's a learned skill and it takes time. But to your point, like once you get in the groove and you figure out what it can do for you, you can never get away from it. So I think that's important for people to know, to get started and understand it's not about the video, it's the compounding piece. And I agree, if you don't have time to shoot video, it's the reason that you should shoot video. Yeah. There are so many times now that I'm having mortgage conversations, financial conversations, where I will send them a video, my YouTube video, in lieu of that. Yeah. And so 10 people will watch my 8-minute long form educational on some type of interest rate buy down strategy here and there. And it saves me an hour on the phone, but at the same time too, like I pick up that extra time elsewhere to work on the business or help clients, and that stuff's good. So, you guys obviously have crushed it in that area. Financially, you've done well. You made a big name for yourself in Dallas. Talk to me about what it's done for you guys on a bigger level. Like, who's it connected you with? What type of partnerships are you putting together? Who else has eyeballs on you? And what does the future look like, not only for the channel, the team, from the real estate piece, but partnership piece, network piece? What does that look like? Because I know you guys are speaking on stage, and you're not only growing the channel and the lead and the closing piece, but it's going to different levels. So what's next for you? What does that look like right now?
I'll let you head off some of that.
Okay. One of our goals this year was to get to as many live events as possible, whether we were speaking or not. And I didn't realize it until Alex told me how much we've been taking him away from his home and all of his jet skis and stuff.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But he's like, man, you guys have drugged me to 25 conferences this year. So at least 2 per month. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, we've been busy, man. Yeah. It's been great, though.
Yeah. And from that, the thing is that just like YouTube, just like anything, these conferences, I always stress the point with people is that you can't look at today's cost versus tomorrow's value. You have to look at tomorrow's value over today's cost. In a conference, yes, you can monetize that. You can say, okay, it cost me $500 for a plane ticket. It cost me $500 for the conference ticket. It cost me $1,000 for the hotel. Right. So most people say that's too expensive. Right. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm not going to afford that or spend that money. But the return on that, from the relationships, from the proximity of people. Yeah. I mean, you get to meet influencers, corporate staff, high-level people that you may never get an opportunity to rub shoulders with, hang out with at the bar, at the pool, on the beach, because you're in this environment where they become accessible. Mm-hmm. So for that reason alone, I don't know how you exactly monetize that return, but I just know that I think it's invaluable. Really, it's priceless. So it's an initial investment, yes, but the return on the relationships and the people that you meet, I think is invaluable. And for us, I mean, already to be able to share the stage with Tony Robbins, with Ryan Serhant, to work with Pete Vargas, who runs 10X Stages, and Pete Vargas is the stage coach behind Tony Robbins, and Grant Cardone and Michael Hyatt. I mean, all these people. And so to be able to spend a day with him and work with him, he has a blurb on our book. So that's the other great thing is we're coming out with the book Passive Prospecting, because we believe in the power of video, video always prospecting for us. So we call that passive prospecting.
Nice.
Just like passive income, everybody loves passive income, but it takes a lot of work up front to get that working in the back end. Well, it's the same thing with video. Video takes work up front, but once you get it going, it starts prospecting for you and it becomes a passive asset for you on the back end. And so the book, we got blurbs on there from Pete Vargas, from Chris Frederick, from Dennis Yu, from Sean Cannell, from Benji Travis, and
forward by Ryan Serhant.
Yeah, and we got the forward written by Ryan Serhant.
Yeah.
And that happened because of these events, from showing up, from working with people, from providing value, from saying yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is we got speaking opportunities from being at events and people seeing us speak, and then they come up and invite you. And the thing is that if you're not there, like we went to grow with video, Sean Cannell's up there.
Yep.
And brings our channel up on stage. Never told us he was going to do that. But the thing was that if we hadn't have been there, first of all, after that session, all 30 real estate agents that were at that conference came up to us. And they're like, oh, you're in real estate. How are you doing this? And so we got to make those connections. But if we hadn't been there and been present, we would have never met those 30 real estate agents, and been able to network and meet with them. And so everything's a compound effect. It's a cascade of events. Speaking at Build, you were there, right? It's Build for, to speak with Tony Robbins in front of 6,000 agents. That started a year before, at the Build the year before. And if I told you that story, that happened because we continually showed up, build those relationships. One thing led to another, and it was a progression. But that was a year in advance in the making, and you got to plant those seeds, and you got to work through that. And so we've been very active on that forefront. The thing is that nobody's really going to promote you better than yourself.
Yeah, we found that out quick.
Yeah, and so and that's the thing. And you can have a lot of success.
You have to fight for it.
Our brokerage, EXP, as much as we love them, more and more we find more and more people, they're finding out about us, and that's usually through word of mouth. And so nobody's really like analyzing the numbers, looking at it, and nobody's like seeking out you to say a lot of times, especially in the beginning. And so, you have to get out there, you have to rub shoulders, meet the right people. So we've been our own biggest marketers, which is why I know we've had the traction so fast, is because we made an effort to that, because we knew the faster we get out there and get in front of people and we can build that brand, then it's going to open up doors. And it's just opened up so many doors, and we've been able to build relationships very quickly with the right people, and that's the cool thing.
Yeah, I believe that we knew it was our time. I mean, we had to make it happen, and we had to make it happen like right now, because that no wave lasts forever, right?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like we had all the momentum going, and when I worked for those top internet marketers, man, that was when I was in the car business. I got exposed to mentors and what it was like to I didn't personally invest my money into mentors, but I remember I went to my very first event. My car dealership actually flew me out to Arizona, and I met with this coach, and there was all these other GMs there, and I was like, man, this is like the super hack right here, because I'm like learning what this guy has learned from 20 or 30 years, and I'm learning it over a week's time over here. And so whenever I got out of the car business, my buddy, his name is Ryan Stuman. At the time, I worked for him. I wanted to get into internet marketing. I wanted to get out of the car business because I was working 7 days a week, and it was like bell to bell, 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. I do that now, but at least I get to do it for myself, right? But I wanted to get out of that grind because I couldn't take a vacation. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to hit up my boy, and I'm going to work for him, and I'm going to learn how to do this internet marketing thing, because he invited me to one of his events, and I think he had 30 or 35 people there, and each one of them paid $5,000 to be there. I was like, bro, you just came up on $150,000 for 1 week. And he's like, yeah, bro, it's this internet marketing thing. And I'm like, what? So I get into the internet marketing space. Well, he starts blowing up, and he gets invited to these events, and I'm his right-hand guy at the time, right? And so we start going to all these events together, and I knew that these events were extremely powerful, because you just, like Levi said, you go out there and you get to shake hands with people you would never get to meet normally. You know what I mean?
Sure.
These are huge players, and they're even bigger now. They've all blown up. It's been probably, 4 years now since I was doing all that, 4 or 5 years since I started doing that. But these relationships are completely, you can't put a monetary value on them. They're so important. And the most important thing is to make everything that you can out of them. You know what I mean? You can go and you can go spend this money and then get nothing out of it. Absolutely. And a lot of people are afraid to spend that money. I think it's because they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that they're going to network, they're going to put themselves out there, they're going to put themselves into a situation for success. A lot of people are scared of success, and they may not admit it out loud, but they will put things in front of them to block them from entering into that next phase of success. But I believe that one of the best ways to do that is invest in yourself. Me and Levi have spent multiple six figures this year. I mean, we spent six figures for one day with the best speaker coach in the world. I mean, that right there is because we believe in ourselves. We needed a strategy to help take us to the next level, and we knew that we wanted to be the best on stage. Levi always wants to be the best at everything that he does. Okay, cool. Like, that's what I love about this guy. I mean, who's the best, right? Who's the best? All right, let's pay him whatever it takes to go spend time with the best. Right. Six figures for what, 8 hours, 9 hours? I mean, but it's going to come back. It's going to come back tenfold. It already has. I mean, he crushed it on stage, at Build in front of 6,000 people, crushes every single thing that he does. And he's helped us open our eyes up to a whole another business strategy that could lead to, 8-figure, 9-figure business on what we're doing on that side of the business. But if we had never spent that money to get there, I mean, who knows where we'd be right now? We may not know those things. Maybe the presentation wouldn't be doing as well as it's doing. Who knows? But we are willing to do that, and we have done that over and over and over again. We've lost a ton of money, on things that didn't work, on lead sources that didn't work. I mean, that's just part of the business. You know what I mean? And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to grow and spend money to do so, I mean, you're going to stay stuck where you're at. And like that's what kind of happened this year, and that's leading into next year, which next year is going to be huge. I mean, we're going to do even better because of all these different relationships that we've built, things that we have learned. I mean, we're just getting started in this game, so I'm looking forward to next year for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, for everybody that's watching, the takeaway on that is it's not what it costs you to do it; it's what it costs you not to do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's the biggest takeaway on this piece, and the opportunities that it's created for these guys is just incredible. I mean, obviously from a monetary standpoint, eyeball standpoint, from clients, the YouTube channel, being on stage, all these things matter. And so the takeaway in this is you guys have to understand, again, you don't get those opportunities unless you invest in yourself and you understand the ROI piece on the back end. I like the takeaway. You've got to think about tomorrow's value. There are too many people stuck in a day in the word about that piece. If they wouldn't have invested themselves in this area and all this kind of stuff, and they're just getting started, you never know. So
yeah, I got one more thing on that, man. I think it's really important for agents or mortgage or anybody who's out there that you need to set aside money to reinvest back into yourself. I can't stress to you, me and Levi, we took almost nothing from the business for over a year. I mean, we literally took almost every single penny that we would make, and we would just reinvest it back into the company. And, I was talking to an agent today who's wanting to join our team. And, I was telling her, I was like, you need to set aside at least 20% of your income to reinvest into marketing strategies or staff. And that's at the very, very least, I mean, you need to not keep all that money. You need to play safe with your taxes. You need to have your write-offs. You need to have all that stuff set up the right way. And then you need to absolutely make sure that you have money set aside to reinvest into yourself or reinvest back into the business, your mindset, coaches, all that good stuff. Make sure that you have available funds to do that, because it's going to help you grow exponentially for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. Two other things I want to make sure that we cover for the audience that I know is interesting. One, so I want to go back to what you talked about a minute. So outside of the YouTube, the closing, the stage stuff, you talk about passive prospecting. What is that? Is that courses for realtors if they want to know, do what you're doing to join the team? Kind of unpack that in case somebody is, what does that mean? How do I learn that? When do I get the book? How do I find you guys in that area? Because some people are probably trying to eager and they're not scared and they're just like, hey, I need a mentor, but they can't come stay at your house and sleep on the couch forever. So if they want to figure all that out, what is that prospecting piece? What does it look like? What's that discovery for them?
Yeah, well, they can go to passiveprospecting.com and you'll find everything you need on the website. Now, as far as the book, the publisher tells us probably February timeframe for that release. I mean, everything is done. Actually, I was just reviewing the covers this morning. They look awesome. Really good. And it's just amazing to see that come together. But that's done. It's just I didn't realize, because I'm like, hey, we're done. Why can't we publish next week? And they're like, well, there's a lot more. Right. They're like, there's a lot more to it than you think. And so they said it's probably 3 more months to get that finalized. And that was, so passive prospecting, they can go on there right now. We do a couple of live calls per week. They'll find that on the website as well. If an agent or a lender or somebody wants to jump in on that, then I conduct those calls a couple of times a week, usually to kind of give them the whole overview, a little bit more of the story, and some of the strategies and tactics that we give them some tips. They can walk away from that. And then, of course, we do offer, we have an offer at the end. So if they want to partner up, whether that is just through the educational side or through, possibly changing or partnering with us on our team, there's those opportunities. So for us, we always say, it comes down to that person, you and the individual and your timing and what's right for you. We're not here to hard sell anybody or close anybody on partnering with us on education or join the team, but we love to have discussions, and you got to decide if it's the right time in your life to make that move or invest in yourself. It's right on your wall. It says you'll never go broke investing in yourself. And that's the thing, is that in 2020, what I realized is that at 41, I wasn't starting over.
Yeah.
And what I realized was that I'm starting with 20 years of sales experience in my back pocket. Now, the thing is I just had to apply it differently. And one of the main questions I asked myself was, how did I end up here? How did I end up at 41, basically starting over again? And what I looked over is my previous careers, all sales related. I was the factor. I was the problem. It was me. Everything was dependent upon me. I was the one doing the one-on-one selling. So I was the one that sold all the gym memberships, right? I did all the phone calls, sold all the gym memberships. Then I moved into selling cell phones. Guess what? I was the one selling all the cell phones.
Right.
And then when I moved into pharmaceuticals, guess what? I was the one talking to all the doctors, and those were jobs. So I couldn't expand a team or grow a team, and then branch out and scale. And it wasn't until I started my business in financial services and started working with teachers, I tried to grow a team at that time, but the margins were so small because I had to basically, pay them less of what I was making, to be able to actually pay myself a cut. So I never felt right about growing a team because they would have had to outsell me to have the same earning potential as me. And I'm a pretty good salesperson. So to try to find that person that could outsell me is very difficult. That's not the average person you come across. So that just never set well with me. But then whenever that business stopped, I realized, a pandemic came in and shut that down. So it was an outside force still. And so those are the questions that I asked myself, which was, how do I remove myself from this equation? How do I generate something that I can scale, is not necessarily dependent on me, works for me whenever I'm not there, regardless. And so that's why, whenever I started to understand YouTube and it's a search engine and video and how it can work for you and all that in my research, I thought, okay, here's a plan, because if I implement this and I can find the right partner, and they can handle this side of it, and then we have opportunity to where we can grow a team. And I was familiar, I understood team models in real estate and understood splits and things like that. So I could see the opportunity there to bring in good people. And also, as long as I build up a good library of video, it can work for me just in case. So if health happens or life happens or, real estate or family happens, which all that stuff can get in the way at any given time, any of that stuff can get in the way of any time, videos can continually work for you regardless. As of right now, YouTube doesn't stop working, right? So that's the great thing is we got this trip that just came up where we're both going to have to be gone for a week. And the great thing is guess what? We're still going to get phone calls. The phones, we're still going to get emails. We're still going to get texts because people will be watching those videos. And, we've got a global reach. We've helped people from Belgium, from the Philippines, from Australia, from South Africa, from the UK.
Japan.
Yeah. And those people that are moving from those areas, they don't say, hey, it's time to move to Dallas, Texas. Let's go see if we can find the best real estate agent or the best lender. They say, what's it like to live in Dallas first? So guess where they're going to research? On YouTube.
Right.
And they're finding us, again, we're capturing people in the research phase before they've decided to hire an agent. And whenever they get caught up in the content, the video builds the relationship for you. And so like Travis said earlier, when they call us, they've already made the decision they want to work with us. So we also don't have to convince them on why we're the best agent over the next agent. They've already made that decision because they've called us. And what's funny is Travis had a guest speaker on our team meeting this morning, and she was like, oh, hey, Levi, can I tell everybody how I discovered you? And I was like, sure, I didn't even hear this story. And she's like, well, I used to mastermind with this agent in Dallas, for the last 5 years. And every time he had a YouTube presence, and I would share people, here's what this guy's doing on YouTube. And then she goes, one day I went to go show this person about YouTube, and she goes, then all your videos popped up. Right. And then she goes, I couldn't even find the other agent anymore. And she's like, every time I search Frisco or Plano or Dallas or Allen, she's like, there was Levi's videos, there was and she goes, and that's what made me search y'all out, and figure out.
And the fact that she said you were cute.
Oh, I thought she said you were cute.
It probably was me.
Doesn't hurt either way. You guys are good. So that's so that's how you, literally take it over and you get the space, because the attention becomes the asset and the eyeballs are the currency. And now you guys are at the top. So no matter where you go, looking or not looking, you're right there in front of them. But that's what passive prospecting, if agents are interested, joining the team, doing the courses, learning at the 101, that's what passive prospecting teaches them. All of that, everything. Yeah. Period.
Absolutely.
And it just, and I think it's such a benefit. People are scared to spend money here and there. For people watching, I've been professionally coached for the past 5 years. I pay $3,000 a month to get coached for 2 hours a month. Yeah. To your point, that's how good the people are, and the value piece is there. So for people that are coming and looking at all this, it's not the expense, it's what it costs you not to. Well, what I wouldn't give to have a blueprint like this, to say, hey, I'm just going to learn it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get it all taken care of and done. It's a guaranteed way to hit for success. So that's really cool you guys are doing that for the outside world, building the brand, because there's a lot of people like myself that just need good people that have experience and have a lot of success, and to say, hey, let me become a part of this and get inside the huddle. So that's super cool. Okay, so last thing for you guys, for agents that are watching, preparation for a new year, market shifting stuff here and there, kind of a two-part question. So one, what are you guys doing and making changes on to adjust the market at this level? What habits are you changing? What are you adapting? And then, for agents that are watching too, from a YouTube standpoint, what are some habits that they need to adopt and get used to moving into a new market to make sure that they're not just a statistic that falls off?
Yeah, I think that the number one thing is faith. You have to understand that this is sales. There's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times. And you just have to, if you're going to get into this game, if you're going to get into sales in general, you have to have faith, and you have to have faith in yourself, right? And you have to know that you're going to be able to make it no matter what. The market's shifted, but we're doubling and tripling down on everything that we're doing. YouTube, we've got that strategy taken care of. I think we've done the best of the best of the best on YouTube. Now we're trying other strategies. We're trying to do all these things with listings and just branching out. We've tried things that haven't worked. We're trying things that work really well. Google ads, pay-per-click, LSA, all these different things, because we don't want, we did 100 million this year. Okay, well, next year, how are we going to get to 200 million? How are we going to get 250 million, right? Well, we have to find other strategies to get us to that $250 million mark, right? Is it luxury? Is it multifamily? Is it commercial, doing commercial deals? So we're in the middle of doubling and tripling down. We're doing more and more and more content. And I think content is obviously the king. So, if you're an agent and you're not sure what to do, I think that you should build your brand. I think you should definitely be on video 100%. Pick a platform that you think you can go all in on and make that work for yourself. With YouTube, that was a grand slam for us, but it's not the only strategy that works. Reels could work. TikTok could work. I was really wanting to go in on TikTok a little bit next year, but I'm a little afraid that TikTok might completely get kicked off the App Store. So I don't think I'm going to waste too much time on that. But, maybe going in on Reels. I'm bringing on 2 people, a husband and a wife, that they're coming in onto our team as well. And they did 50 transactions from Instagram Reels alone last year. Sure. And that's all they do. And 50 transactions, that's not bad at all. If I could add an additional 50 transactions next year just from being consistent with Reels, then it's definitely worth doing, right? And I'm going to be stepping out of production and I can just give that business off to my team. You know what I mean? And so that'll allow me to figure out more and more things to do, how to grow the business. But that's kind of our plan for next year, and what I think real estate agents need to be doing a little bit of is just going all in on video.
Nice, man. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'm just going to say I think the most visible agent's going to win. Yep. So, and I get it. Hey, maybe not everybody's a video person. So if you're a phone call person, you need to make more phone calls. If you're a people person, you need to do more open houses or meet more people. And if you're a video person like us, then you need to make more videos. Yep. The most visible agent is going to win in this market. People buy and sell homes every single day in every type of market. But if they can't find you or they don't know you exist, then you won't be doing any business.
Right.
So you have to double down, triple down on your efforts. You mentioned this the other day. You know what it's like to go through a down market.
Sure.
So what do you have to do? You have to work a little bit longer, make a few more phone calls, and double up on your efforts. And so for us, this is what we were just talking about this a little bit this morning. As far as how do we do more videos? Publish more, just publish more and just flood it now. But the other problem is we're creating our own competition within YouTube because we are helping people, and we want to extend that value and that offer to other people because we've already helped so many people change their lives. Think about this. We're next month. I mean, this is we're still in November. Yeah. Today's the 30th. Right?
I guess I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
So next month, I mean, in 5 days, is going to really be our 2-year anniversary. Yeah. And even in the last year, we've been able to help so many other people change their business through YouTube just by sharing that with them. And so, for us, it's we got to double down because and people are watching what we're doing as well. So even people who are not helping directly, indirectly, people tell me all the time, "Oh, hey, I'm watching your channel, copying everything you do."
Right.
I'm like, I can't stop them from doing that. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to have to outwork them. And that's what got us in here so fast in the first place was taking a look who's on YouTube when we started.
Right.
And what I noticed is that there was a handful. There was about 3 to 4 really that had the best presence. And I just had to look at what are they doing, how often are they publishing, and how can we outwork them.
Nice. And I think that's one of the things, too, for people watching, one of the things they didn't mention, you guys don't see behind the scenes, is these guys are extremely hard workers. They have no downtime in their calendar. They're mentally all committed. Even if you have the luxury of connecting with them, being on the team, getting their courses here and there, you have to do the work. I mean, you can get the Dallas Cowboys playbook, but at the end of the day, you got to have the players, you got to have the work ethic to get it all done. And so even though you guys are, helping other people out, and there's becoming a little bit more in the market, it's an abundance mindset that like, hey, there's plenty of room for everybody, and you guys are doing it. And I think that's one good thing about a cooling market and a correction is it's going to squeeze out the people that don't belong, and the ones that do belong, like you guys that are proactive and trendsetters and super hard workers, and the video stuff here and there is just, it's going to compound even more. And I'm excited for you guys and excited for the future to see what that has in store. So, for those that are watching that want to follow you guys, that want to like you guys, talk a little bit about yourself, the channel. How can they get to know you? How can they follow you? Where are your eyeballs at so they can go piggyback and look at all your stuff?
Yeah, passive prospecting, of course, passiveprospecting.com. They can go to YouTube, and also YouTube now has handles, so you should be able to type in @passive prospecting or just search passive prospecting on YouTube. They'll find our channel there, and both of our Instagrams, mine's Levi Lascsak, Travis is Travis Plumb. No numbers in there at all, so if you see some account
no double I's, underscores,
double P's or double L's or numbers.
I think we got like 5 fake accounts out there. I think mine's down to 1.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So they're finally getting those off of there. That was a nightmare. I got hit up hundreds of times, but
I know everyone's always telling me, "Is this
fake account? You got a fake account."
I teach a lot of YouTube on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
But passive prospecting, you should be able to find us. And the book comes out February timeframe. That is, and what I'm really
And what's the main channel name?
Oh, Living in Dallas, Texas. Well,
right. Yeah, living in Dallas, Texas.
Living in Dallas, Texas. Yeah, that one. Well, the thing is that just search for that and you'll find that. Yeah. Search Dallas, Texas.
You can't ignore it.
You'll find it.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you guys being on. You're an inspiration to me. Thanks for being friends and partners. For the people in the audience out there, dude, I hope you guys got an incredible lesson learned from these guys. The takeaway from this is YouTube or you lose.
Well,
I like that.
Are we still on?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, then let me just add this one part because here's the thing. The reason that we work with Brian is because of his social media presence. That's the whole reason why we found him in the first place. I should say Travis found him. So Travis was following Dallas Mortgage Man and saying, "This guy keeps popping up in my feed, man, looks like a super cool dude, and he's got some great content." And at that time, we were looking for a mortgage partner.
He was super consistent. That's the other thing is you have to be consistent.
Yeah. And I do believe people vet you on, your social media presence, just like we vetted Brian. And so that was a cold outreach, for those. I'm sure if you're a part of this, then you know Brian, but we'll just reassure that he is the best in the business.
Absolutely.
And I tell you what, I mean, it's just hard to describe how well he works with our team and the value that he brings, and has been a game changer for us as well, and really a big part of what's helped us scale as well. So we appreciate you.
Of course, man. Yeah, and just to the people out there, the video creates the opportunity. If I didn't shoot the videos, it wouldn't have got in front of these guys. They wouldn't have reached out and connected. Look where we're at now. Family success stories, just the beginning. So shout out to the boys. Thank you guys for coming again. Living in Dallas, Texas team YouTube. If you're not YouTubing, you are going to lose. Appreciate you watching.